Today is November 2, 2023. 11 of 11 sectors closed green. Real estate led, and consumer staples lagged. Internationally, the Bank of England voted 6-3 to keep rates at 5.25% for the second straight meeting. Like in the US, inflation is still elevated, but the committee believes policy may be restrictive enough to bring it down. Meanwhile, Brazil cut its interest rate for the third straight meeting to 12.25% as it looks to balance inflation and economic growth. U.S. labor costs experienced a surprise decline during the third quarter. As the labor market slowly softens, factory orders posted their sharpest rise since early 2021, up 2.8% in September. Six Flags Entertainment jumped after lining up $3.1 billion in debt financing to back its all-stock merger with Cedar Fair Entertainment. Live Nation shares rose 5% after Taylor Swift and Beyoncé concerts drove stronger than expected earnings and revenues. Uber and Lyft shares both popped after the companies agreed to pay a combined $328 million in New York for withholding money from drivers. DoorDash also rallied 16% today after posting a better-than-expected loss and revenues. Peloton soared 13% despite reporting a wider-than-expected first-quarter loss, as it continues struggling to convert new users into paid subscribers. Its holiday forecast was also weak. Novo Nordisk shares pop after saying that its blockbuster weight loss drug, Wegovy, could receive expanded U.S. FDA approval within 6 months. Meanwhile, Moderna fell 7% due to a sharp third-quarter loss due to a write-down of its unused COVID vaccines. Electric truck maker Nikola shares jumped 11%, despite reporting a wider-than-anticipated quarterly loss due to its recent recall. It's estimated to spend $61.8 million to replace battery packs on the trucks, but has more cash than last quarter and nearly 300 orders for its latest model. Apple is the latest tech giant to report results, but despite beating on most metrics, the stock is falling after hours. Let's take a look at why. The company topped earnings and revenue estimates, driven by strength in its iPhone and services businesses. Gross margin also expanded in the quarter, more than 70 bps above Wall Street's outlook. However, the company's Mac and wearables divisions missed, as discretionary spending on these items remained soft among consumers. Within services, Tim Cook said that every main service hit a record, which is great to hear about its higher-margin business. It's also sitting on a $162.1 billion cash pile, will pay a 24 per share dividend this month, and return $25 billion to shareholders during the quarter by repurchasing shares and paying dividends. But things weren't all great for the business. For example, the Greater China area, its third-largest market, is seeing increased competition and revenues, essentially flat year-over-year at $15.08 billion. Additionally, its Mac and iPad businesses remain under pressure. V's strong 2022 comparables. It is unsure if the release of M3 chips and a product refresh will be enough to grow again. Looking ahead, the company did not provide formal guidance, but expects total revenues to be flat year-over-year during its holiday quarter. Analysts had expected 4.5% year-over-year growth, though its gross profit margin and EBIT forecasts exceeded analyst expectations. Nonetheless, with the company experiencing its fourth straight quarter of year-over-year revenue declines, investors remain concerned about its ability to grow at its size and in the current economic environment. AAPL shares initially popped, but are now down about 3% after the bell as investors digest the news. Earnings. Other positive earnings reactions included Coinbase, Block, and DraftKings, which all soared after the bell. However, not every stock in this category is seeing a bounce. For example, Bill plunged 35% and FTNT fell 18%, following their weaker-than-expected results. As volatility among growth stocks continues, Target CEO says shoppers continue to pull back, even on necessities. The retailer is doubling down on its cautious outlook ahead of the holiday shopping season, with CEO Brian Cornell telling CNBC that shippers are pulling back on everything. Like other retailers, it's taking a more conservative approach to its inventory plan, given last year's large glut diminished profits. Volumes remain challenged, even if retailers have been able to buoy revenues with higher prices. Starlink is now running at break-even cash flow levels. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk confirmed this week that the rocket company's satellite internet unit has reached the financial milestone. In 2021, Musk said that SpaceX would spin off Starlink as a public company once it had reasonably predictable cash flows. Last year, Starlink's revenues rose more than 500% to $1.4 billion, owning most of all active satellites in space. Intuit shuts down Mint and pushes users towards Credit Karma. The fintech giant has shut down its popular budgeting app, Mint, at the end of the year despite it having more than 3.6 million users. In the interim, it's pushing users to Credit Karma, which offers similar features like the ability to view transactions, track spending, aggregate financial accounts, and more. However, users have pushed back on the decision, saying it no longer fits their needs and will force them to look for alternatives in the space. Amazon's pricing scheme netted at $1.4 billion. The tech giant's Project Nessie is an algorithmic pricing scheme that allegedly raised prices where it could safely do so, netting hundreds of millions of dollars in additional profits during its operation. The Federal Trade Commission's allegations of anti-competitive behavior cover a variety of practices, but this secret project of Amazon's has become the poster child for its campaign against the company. Lawsuit alleges big landlords collude to raise rents. A lawsuit filed in D.C. this week alleges several of the city's most prominent property managers work together to artificially raise rents, raising a debate that could be taken nationwide if this case is successful. It alleges that landlords outsource pricing decisions to an algorithm that uses data from the industry's largest players, making it so they don't have to compete on price. The software in question is RealPage, which allegedly estimates the supply and demand for housing and generates a price that maximizes landlord revenue.